Welcome to the Old Lumens channel again. I told myself I wouldn't do this in this kind of weather. You know, I think the high is 40 degrees today. The low is supposed to be like 21. I know that's not cold to some people, but down here, that's cold. It's like 48 degrees in the garage, and I don't plan on doing a lot of work here, but I'm going to start a project. I won't be able to finish it for a while because of the temperatures, but I'm going to start it. You know how it is, I always love to tease. So I bought this lens, this Aspheric lens from Domain, and this is a 108 millimeter lens. It's not too bad, really. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I think it has like about a 190 millimeter focus on it, so it's going to have to be a long ways away from the LED. But I'm hoping that because it's a flatter dome and a larger lens, that it will give me a smaller spot. From what I've checked already, I took a XML2 and put it in a vise on an aluminum rod, and then I held the lens over top of it and just looking up at the ceiling, which is only about 4 feet or so, it had a really small spot. I mean, I had to be a long ways away to focus, but it had a really small spot, less than the size of a dime, with the XML, and it never really gave me a perfect focus square die. It was sort of a little rounded on the edges, but it was very intense. It was very bright in that little area. So I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? Well, long story short, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mag light. Well, this is not going to fit in a mag light, but you know how crazy I get. This is a PVC pipe reducer. This is 4-inch down to 2-inch. Now, 4-inch is a little too big for this lens. You can see it's a little too big for it. But 4-inch pipe, which I have PVC pipe, will allow the lens to nest on that piece of pipe. Okay. So I'll cut a piece of pipe here, and I don't have a good way of cutting it, so I'm going to cut with a hacksaw. So I've measured where I want to cut and made a slot, and I'm just going to have to follow around best I can. I'll cut that with a hacksaw, and then I'll use files, various files, and probably even a sheet of sandpaper, which I'll just tape down to the tabletop, and I can use it this way across the paper to smooth it out, that kind of thing, try to get it leveled off and try to get as close as I can to being correct. But I will use that as an inner lip inside this 4-inch piece, and then I will also use another section of it as the upper bezel to go over top of the lens, since it just fits almost perfect right into it like that. I'll use that for a top bezel too. Now the 2-inch end of it would go onto a 2D mag light, but that's also too big. Okay, so I have a piece of 2-inch pipe, which with some modification, by opening up the ID a little bit, I can force it onto a head of a mag light. Actually, it's not going to be a 2D. It's going to end up being a 4D. The LED that's going to be used, and this is an SST-90. Okay, this is a P-bin SST-90. I'm assuming somewhere around 5,700 to 6,000 K. That is, it comes on a Comex Star, but I don't know if that's really a true direct to copper. So I do have a Maxtox 26 millimeter star for a MTG2, and the SST-90 will go on it. So the SST-90 will end up going on this star right here. Then I have an aluminum heat sink, which that'll go on to. Okay, and then I have one of the 9-amp drivers I use, 7135 chips, 9 amps, and the program will probably be a star momentary program, and a momentary switch, and a 4D mag light, which with a 4D I believe I can go ahead and put three 26 650s or 18 650s in parallel, because of course the SST-90 only needs 3.7 volt. But with the three of them in parallel, it should give me a little bit more runtime when I'm pushing 9 amps. So that's what's coming up now. Once I get this, I'll take some pictures and stuff like that and show progress, but it's going to be slow progress with the way the temperatures are. I really don't expect it, because this will all have to be painted. The other thing about this is, it's white. Well, it's going to need to be flat black, and I have some VHT caliper paint, which I will use because it takes higher temperatures and because I can slap it in the oven, and sort of set it. Also, I'll use adhesion promoter on it. So I'll have to sand everything down, every square inch of it sanded, then cleaned with alcohol or paint thinner possibly. Then everything's got to be painted black, first adhesion promoter, then black, then baked a little bit to set the paint. Then after that I can start some assemblies on the head. Like I say, 190 millimeter, that's a long ways. That's really getting up there with that lens to get the distance. So that's the reason for having something this big, because I'll be sticking out probably about that far with the Maglite head to get that 190 millimeters. So it ought to be interesting. Anyways, hopefully I can make a thrower that will be able to go farther than the first thrower I did, which was a little over a mile. The building that I have set up, or I've found a spot where I can hit a building at about 3 miles, and see if I can hit that building with a beam at 3 miles. So that's what I'm shooting for. That's about it, really. The only other thing I got is I got another one that I really can't discuss this one. Pretty big head for a mag light, and it's something, I can't remember what LED, something about I think it was like XHP 70s or something like that. Anyways, that's a whole different build, but that's what's going on in the cold workshop, and hopefully I can get a little bit done with this here in the next couple weeks, at least enough to show you the head, if I can get to a point where I can paint. All right, well, thanks for watching.